In Vienna, the foreign ministers of the international powers and Iran are almost all in place. China's Wang Yi is due in on Monday. The deadline they set themselves for a deal, midnight on Monday, could well stretch into the early hours. Some sources suggest it could be missed altogether. A former State Department official who's been speaking to both sides believes talk of failure is premature.
I think not only is it too early to talk about failure, but failure is not an option. Neither side can leave Vienna empty-handed. What they're looking for now is a breakthrough. And I think that's why the foreign ministers are currently meeting right now to try and get that last little bit of progress that they'll need to go into tomorrow to figure out what exactly they're going to be taking home to their respective capitals.
This was President Obama's assessment in a U.S. television interview.
The good news is that the interim deal that we entered into has definitely stopped Iran's nuclear program from advancing. So it's been successful.
But a deal would require rollback, wouldn't it?
Well, so now the question is, can we get to a more permanent deal? And the gaps are still significant.
Those gaps exist in the difference, on the one hand, between the six powers' determination to limit Iran's ability to enrich uranium and Iran's unwillingness to give too much up, between Iran's desire for swift and permanent sanctions relief and the six powers wanting to hold some key sanctions back to guarantee compliance. In Iran, the talks are being monitored closely. It's not just the crippling sanctions, but also a maze of geopolitical factors that make the outcome in Vienna so important here.
I think that the Iranians are also expecting that the talks will not fail, because it's clear that the United States has created a big mess in this region. Due to its policies, we've had the rise of the ISIL. And the United States is in sharp conflict with the Russians over Ukraine and the Chinese over the South China Sea. And both Russia and China are moving more close towards Iran as time goes by. So the balance of power is really shifting away from the United States, and the Iranians recognize that.
Little more than a year ago, a scene like this would have been unthinkable. The US Secretary of State and Iran's foreign minister in friendly face-to-face talks, a sign of how far they've come. What is at stake if the negotiations over Iran's nuclear program were to fail altogether? The rapid return of old enemies to past decades of hostility and talk of war. Jonah, Al Jazeera, Vienna.